Hello everybody, my name is Bodkin, and today I'm talking to you about the Arc Thrower. This weapon is one of my favorite support weapons in Helldivers 2. I haven't seen any guides really put out for it. I barely even see any appreciation for it. By and large, this weapon isn't really considered really all that popular, and a lot of people, not knowing any better, would rather use the Blitzer even. And I'm just here to show you guys why I like it and why I think it's the most underrated, misunderstood weapon in Helldivers 2. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use this weapon effectively versus all factions, how to clear entire hordes of enemies by yourself, how to deal with all heavies in the game, how to two-shot hulks, and how to do all of that without killing your teammates. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, we'll start with a general overview of the Arc Thrower and what its stats are. Arc Thrower projects a bolt of electricity that chains up to 6 targets in a line with the Circuit Expansion ship upgrade, or 4 targets without. This includes teammates though, so you have to be careful, and I'll show you how to avoid team killing later on in this video. As you can see though from this clip I'm showing, you can clear entire hordes on your own very easily with this chain lightning effect. It's very good at this. It makes it very trivial, and you feel very strong when using it against large amounts of enemies without issue. Again, the only real downside is the team killing, but that's a skill issue and can be overcome. It deals 250 damage with 100 durable damage. This isn't insanely high, but it's pretty good, especially since it hits multiple enemies at once. It also has armor penetration level 7, which is tied for the best, along with the Spear anti-tank rocket launcher, which is pretty crazy. For reference, the recoilless rifle is AP 6 and railgun is AP 5. This means that Arc Thrower can damage any enemy in the game regardless of their armor, just not enough to be a true anti-tank weapon on its own, besides hulks, which get 2-shot by it, and I'm going to show you how to do that later in the video. The weapon also stuns targets hit by it, which includes any enemy which is a charger or hulk size or smaller, making it uniquely strong for keeping the horde back and your team safe if you know how to use it without team killing. The weapon even has infinite ammunition without any heat buildup mechanics like lasers have. What this means is that you can shoot this weapon without stopping forever and treat it like your actual primary weapon, and only really use your other weapons for like utility, like say, breaking fabricators or blowing up bug holes. Or say you have a teammate that's swarmed up by enemies, you can swap to your primary weapon and save him without fear of zapping him, things like that. But besides these situations, you can use the Arc Thrower indefinitely without concern. And before I forget, the weapon also doesn't have a backpack, meaning that you can use it with jump pack, shield pack, guard dogs, whatever you want. Speaking of guard dogs, the new Warbond Force of Law added the guard dog K9, meaning that you can run this with a second Arc Thrower if you so choose. And it's not even really all that bad. It's a pretty good loadout, just doubles down on what makes the Arc Thrower good. Next, we're going to get into targeting, or how to aim and use your Arc Thrower where you hit the enemy and not your friendlies or the bushes. How do you hit what you're aiming at? The number one rule for that: aim up.
So, you didn't subscribe yet.
Don't ever aim right at your target. Why do I say that? Well, Arc Thrower targeting works with a cone. So I'm going to make this, spend way too much time on this visual here, but you will see that since it's a cone, if you aim right at your target, half the angles that you could, have used to hit enemies are in the ground. Whereas if you aim up, it brings them up out of the ground, meaning that you have a more likely chance of hitting your target. It sounds weird, but it's a simple concept once you understand. The next topic we're going to discuss is friendly fire and how to avoid it. Now, Arc Thrower has a pretty bad reputation when it comes to this, but this is really more of a knowledge, just general skill issue with using the weapon. The main thing to remember with Arc Thrower is that it never bounces backwards. This is why you can never kill yourself with it. And that basically, if you know this fact, you know that if you have your ally between you and the enemy you're shooting, you're going to be okay. If he is past the enemy that you're shooting, depending on how far he is and how many enemies are there to chain off of, then you're going to know that you should not take that shot. And you can see here where I'm, engaging with a squad that is attacking my ally, and I could be shooting this Hulk right now with my Arc Thrower. But I know better than that because I know that he is on the other side of the target. And if I were to take this shot, the probability of him getting zapped is pretty damn high. So this is why you have your primary weapon. Remember to use it. Arc Thrower is a great weapon, but it's not the greatest choice for every situation you're going to be in. It has infinite ammo, but that doesn't mean you always need to shoot it in every situation. Here, there's no allies in sight, so you can let loose and just go ham with the Arc Thrower without having any worry. This is why you tend to want to stay in front if you're using this weapon to get the best effect. Now, for our first faction chapter, the Automatons. I'm going to teach you how to short circuit some clankers. But Bodkin, why would I ever bring the Arc Thrower on bots? Well, listen here, little diver, there's a very simple answer to that. It's because it clears out bot drops like nothing else, man. Watch this shit. Like, seriously, you just get cover, you don't stop shooting. That is all you do. Just watch. It speaks for itself.
Freedom forever! My leg!
Now, I don't know about you, man, but
that looked pretty good to me.
What about the Hulk, Bodkin?
real simple, guys. It two shots him. Here's how to do it. Now, my first shot is just going to stun him. But pay attention to the animation he makes after he gets stunned. You'll see that he slowly wiggles left and right before looking down. You want to aim above the Hulk and hold your shot until he looks down. When you do that, it'll hit his eyeball every time and give a clean, consistent two shot. Now let's watch that again in full speed. As you can see, I wait for him to look down, and then I do that twice. Works every time, just make sure you aim right above the Hulk. It's even really good at taking out multiple Hulks at once, since it can stun multiple at one time and kill them efficiently. This is notably better than things like anti-tanks because those only have one shot, need to reload. This stuns them and keeps them out of the fight and takes them out efficiently. So now that we know what the Arc Thrower can do on bots, destroying Hulks, wiping bot patrols and drops, with impunity, I wanted to give you guys my opinion on what the best loadout would be to cover its weaknesses. So let's start off with what are those weaknesses. Primarily, those are going to be gunships, since you can't reach them. This is easily solvable, though. It's also going to be tanks and factory striders, since you don't really have a good way of killing those with just your Arc Thrower. But we do have great ways in our loadout to do that. So what is that loadout? Well, first off, you're going to want to bring thermites with the Arc Thrower. The reason for this being, they kill tanks and they will kill factory striders. Now, it's a little dangerous to go after a factory strider with thermites, but it can be done. So you're going to want to bring those, and you're probably going to want to bring either fortified heavy armor or some kind of engineering kit to bring more of these thermites. What else would you bring, though? So To deal with the tanks and factory striders, I would recommend bringing expendable anti-tanks. These things are underrated in general. They have a 1-minute cooldown. They will one-shot tanks if you hit them in the sides. They will also two-shot a factory strider. But Botkin, it takes 2. Well, yeah, dumbass, but you get 2 every time you call them down. So it's perfect. And you can do this once a minute. And, you know, unless you're taking on a convoy, you know, you shouldn't have to take on more than one factory strider at a time, and you're also on a team with people who are bringing specialized weapons for that purpose. So bring expendable anti-tanks. Then there's also Eagles, so 500 kg, Eagle airstrike, strafing run even if it's aimed right. And then the 110 millimeter rocket pods I find to be really great specifically for tanks. They'll also get a Hulk, but you don't really need that on your Arc Thrower build. So let's circle back to gunships. I said gunships were a weakness because you can't reach them, but it was easily solvable. How do you do that? Well, it's quite simple. Plasma weapons, specifically the Purifier and the Loyalist pistol, when you charge shot them, they can two-shot gunships to the engine. This is very good because these weapons are also great for bots in general. And especially with the Loyalist, it's a secondary, so you don't need a Senator because your Arc Thrower can two-shot Hulks anyway, so there's not really any benefit provided by the Senator. So the Loyalist is perfect if you want to, say, bring like a marksman rifle in your primary slot for some distance, So yeah, bring a plasma weapon, ideally a charge-up one, if you can. And then for your last stratagem slot, I would either bring 2 different Eagles, which is always going to be good, or you can bring a, say a walking barrage, 380, 120, anything like that to clear some bases with. This is a little unnecessary in my opinion because you have great horde clear already with the Arc Thrower, and you clear bases pretty well, honestly, since you can walk through and clear it out very effectively with the Arc Thrower, but you also have thermites to blow them up with and expendable anti-tanks from range. So, it's a little overkill to bring a barrage, but if you want to, you can. They are useful at times. If you want to bring a backpack, though, I would recommend for Arc Thrower, probably the jump pack. For the few times that you can't get in range by just running up with the Arc Thrower, the jump pack will help you here. It will also, just give you mobility in general to be more dynamic in the fight and to, escape bad situations. So jump pack is always great, but it's not necessary on bots. I think you have plenty of range on its own, but it is great when you do bring it. So, take your pick. It is now time for the Terminid front. Bug zapping. On the bug front, the Arc Thrower is the undisputed master of crowd control, effortlessly holding back entire bug breaches in the right hands.
Say hello to democracy! How'd you like to taste all freedom? Say hello to democracy!
First, we will get into the matchups and breakpoints of the Arc Thrower against these enemies. First on our list, Hunters. Arc Thrower kills these guys in one shot while chaining into multiple and taking out many at once. The Arc Thrower is very strong for Hunters. You will not feel disappointed. Next, Warriors. Again, Arc Thrower will take these enemies out in one shot. Headshots, though, will cause them to do that bleed out frenzy where they charge you, but shots from the side that hit the body will kill them in one clean shot. If you hit them in the head and you don't have room between you, follow up with another zap just to make sure they go down fast. Next up, Hive Guards. These medium units die in one shot from the front for Arc Thrower, but this is a bleed out kill. 2 shots is a guarantee, so most of the time you're going to want to take 2 shots just to get them out as quick as possible. Next, Alpha Commanders. Everyone hates these guys, myself included, and Arc Thrower does well against them, taking their head off in only 2 shots while knocking them back, removing the threat, and chaining into any enemies behind them. It's very good for these enemies. And Bile Spewers, honestly my most hated enemy. I loathe these guys. Arc Thrower takes them out in 2 shots to the head, so if they're looking at you, basically, or 5 to the body, if they aren't looking at you. Notably, however, the Arc Thrower will stun them while you're doing this, so it prevents them from hitting you with the one-shot kill acid vomit attack that everyone hates. So, very good. Now for a lot of people's favorite, Stalkers. Arc Thrower actually is really good against these guys because not only does it stun them, it's also capable of getting a one-shot kill if it hits them on the head, which is kind of random, but it's nice when it happens. Or it's 4 to 5 to the body, which, you know, isn't amazing, but when you consider the fact that it stuns them and will chain into enemies behind them, it's quite good.
Standing in an eagle! Marking location east.
But what about the heavies? Those being Chargers, Impalers, and Bile Titans. Arc Thrower actually can deal with these to varying degrees, despite what many might think. Let's start with Chargers. You have 2 main types, the normal and spore Chargers, which look pretty similar and they share health and breakpoints that we care about, and then the Behemoth Chargers, which they're the more armored variety and they're quite a bit tougher. Normal and spore Chargers can actually be killed with only 7 shots of Arc Thrower to the head while stunning them, which is really quite good because it can be mixed in with normal horde clear. Every time you shoot them, it chains into things behind them, and you only need 1 shot to stun them, so you can stun the Charger and then go back to firing a shot into the group and then fire another shot into the Charger, and doing that you'll kill everything including the Charger. It's really not bad at all. Seen here. The issue really comes when you start to talk about the Behemoth Chargers though, because these guys will take 16 shots to kill to the head, which it's quite a while, guys, I'll be real. But the thing is, the Arc Thrower isn't the only thing we have in our loadout to be able to handle these targets, and we can use the stun effect to make it easy to handle them. So what do I mean by that? I mean simply shooting a shot to stun the Behemoth and then throwing, a thermite, throwing a stratagem, these kinds of things to quickly deal with the threat and not have to worry about it again. You can carry up to 5 thermites on your person with engineer armor without resupply or supply backpack, and you have your stratagems with you. You saw in that last clip that a 110mm Eagle rocket pod does kill behemoths reliably if they're stunned, and you get 4 of those before you have to rearm, and that's only 1 stratagem. So if you add all that up, you really get a lot of anti-tank capability with the Arc Thrower loadout still, because you don't need any crowd clear stratagems. Your weapon itself is the god gun for that. So all you need to do is stack anti-tank, and there's quite a lot you can bring. Now for Impalers, I'm just going to save you some time. Arc Thor can kill them in 10 shots to the face when they're, impaling the ground and trying to kill you. This isn't awful or anything. 10 shots is good. It's just the rate of fire, right? You'd be a lot better off if you just used your primary on their open face and just killed them quicker that way. Standard Liberator, for example, can kill one in like half a mag of just dumping to the face. It's not bad at all. So I would just recommend using your primary when they, stick their tentacles in the ground, or throw a 110mm rocket pod eagle at it. Those kill it consistently, even if it doesn't have its face down, and you have a whole bunch of them, and you're going to be bringing them in this build anyway. That's the quickest method if you don't want to wait. If you do have time to wait for them to stick their tentacles in the ground, just use your Liberator or whatever other primary you brought. It'll be a pretty good solution. And lastly, we have Bile Titans, the biggest of the bunch. Now I'm going to be real. Arc Thrower on its own against Bile Titans, it can be done, but it's a bit of a fool's errand. What you want to use the Arc Thrower build to do is essentially to do chip damage with your Arc Thrower and rely on stratagems and thermites to take these guys down if no teammates are available that can handle the job. So, what are those options? Well, first off, obviously, is stratagems. Everybody knows about 500 kg or precision strike. You can see here me cleaning house with a bunch of Eagle 110mm.
Requesting air support! Requesting air support!
Destroyer preparing to leave.
Sorry.
Really, the best solution of all, though, is to just bring expendable anti-tanks, otherwise known as EATs. These things have a 60-second cooldown. When you upgrade them, you get 2 shots every time you call it down, and they will one-shot Bile Titans. So it's really awesome to bring with you. You just throw one down at every breach, and then you get 2 shots back-to-back as you need them, and you can use your other stratagems and thermites to fill in as fire.
I'm out! Affirmative! Thank you.
It is also notable to mention that if you're running with a coordinated team with multiple arc throwers, you can legitimately melt everything on the bug front with just electricity, not having to use any stratagems or whatever. It's pretty fun to do, and it looks cool as hell, so just throwing that out there. Almost forgot to mention, Rocket Sentry is actually an insanely good pairing with Arc Thrower on bugs. And the reason is that, obviously, the Rocket Sentry kills heavies. Normally the downside is that, chargers can run it over and destroy the Sentry quickly. But you have Arc Thrower. Brother, you have Arc Thrower. No chargers are going to be able to touch it. So it's just able to do whatever it pleases and kills heavies as long as you're able to keep it safe. Very good combo. It'll even dunk on Bile Titans. So it's honestly a really good tactic to, as soon as you see a bug breach, throw down that Sentry and then throw down an expendable anti-tank pod next to you, an EAT pod. And then you have perfect solutions for any heavies that rush your position. And you also have awesome horde clear with the Arc Thrower. It's very good for an engineer setup. Now that we know how capable the Arc Thrower is against the Terminid Horde, we're going to talk about what our best loadout is going to be to maximize its potential, starting with the stratagems. So obviously, you're going to be bringing Arc Thrower. That is a very important part of an Arc Thrower build, so to speak. Next, I would recommend bringing either jump pack or expendable anti-tanks. Basically what this choice is going to come down to is whether or not you care about mobility or do you care about added anti-tank potential, meaning Bile Titans primarily is what you would want the expendables for, and the occasional Shrieker Nest. Jump pack is very good at maintaining distance and making sure that you can use the arc thrower effectively without being bum rushed. As we know, being bum rushed is one of the worst places you can have an arc thrower in because enemies right in your face are a bit of a problem and you have to melee them back normally or use your primary weapon. Jump pack fixes that issue. So which issue do you care about, mobility or tanks? I would say on Predator Brood, go jump pack. Anywhere else, I would recommend expendables. Now for the third slot, here's where we're going to bring your choice of Eagle. All right, any of them really work. Just bring one that can deal with heavies. So 500 kg, Eagle Airstrike, a very well aimed strafing run, or my personal favorite, Eagle 110 millimeters. I think they're very versatile. They aim for you and they soften up heavies or kill them outright, which is strong when you have a weapon like Arc Thrower, which can hurt all enemies. It just needs chunk damage assistance, and that's where the 110s come in. So that would be my recommendation. Now for the fourth slot. My personal opinion here is that you either bring a second Eagle. So say you brought Eagle 110s and you really want to bring 500 kg or something like that. This is where you'd put it. However, my recommendation to you would be Rocket Sentry. As I showed before, Rocket Sentry is very good on bug breaches because it will take out all the heavy units that your teammates aren't able to pick up the slack on. And you can protect it with your arc thrower and keep it completely safe. The only thing that can get past your arc thrower would be Bile Titans. And if you're bringing expendables with you, you can take them out before they reach your sentry as well. But, all things being equal, for the most part, with good placement, the Rocket Sentry will take out that Bile Titan for you, and you won't even need the expendables. So, now we're going to get into what weapons should we bring. My recommendation on primary is, as I said before, the main downside to arc thrower on bugs is when you have something in your face right now. The arc thrower doesn't like to target those enemies, so you're going to want something that is effective at close range. And my recommendation for that is going to be your favorite AR or SMG. And for me personally, that is going to be the Standard Liberator or the Knight SMG. Both these weapons are effective at close range, Knight a bit more so than the Liberator, but the Liberator is a little bit more effective over distance and against things like Impaler faces. It kills them quickly in about half a mag, while also being very effective against Shriekers. Both these weapons are. So take your pick there, you can swap this around, but to me, something with some distance and the ability to take on Impalers well and Shriekers is more important than using like a Blitzer for the theme. Blitzer is good with arc thrower, but it doesn't cover its weaknesses as well in my opinion. So just my 2 cents. Secondary weapon, this one's going to be easy. Since you brought Liberator, you're going to want something to close holes with, so grenade pistol here. You can swap out, say like you wanted to bring an Eruptor for this purpose. On your secondary, I would bring a Redeemer or Peacemaker. Take your preference, take your pick. These are, pretty decent weapons, especially Peacemaker now after the buff, and it would basically be the Liberator to your, Eruptor, whereas, the grenade pistol is the Eruptor to the Liberator. So, personal preference there, but I recommend grenade pistol. Grenade, another easy pick. This one's obviously going to be Thermites. You can stun a charger with an arc thrower and then throw a thermite on it, and it's not moving quickly, so it's easy to handle and takes the threat out efficiently. Now, armor. Armor is again going to be an easy pick. You have great horde clear. Your weakness is anti-tank, so we supplemented that with thermites. Thus, we're going to bring engineer armor on the bugs, and I would recommend light or medium. My personal favorite is medium. I like to be able to take an extra hit or two, but if you like light armor, that's perfectly fine. Just bring engineering kit for the extra thermites. And that's it for the build, guys.
And finally, the Illuminate front. Time to fry up some sushi.
Calling in orbital strike.
To close out our video, we're going to talk about the Illuminate front, where this is an interesting place for Arc Thor because it has a lot of very strong arguments to use it, a lot of very good use cases, and it'll always be good on the team as long as it's in someone's hands that knows how to use it and watched my video. So to start off, we're going to get into our matchups, just like with the bugs. So first up, we have our Voteless. Voteless come in large swarms. They're very weak, but they come in very large swarms and can overwhelm a number of support weapons. Arc Thor is not one of them. Arc Thor one-shots them and will clean out multiple at a time, up to 6. And you can just keep firing up to 55 meters away, and it'll chain through entire groups and clean them out, no problem. It's a monster for clearing out zombie hordes. It makes it a legitimate non-issue for you or your team. So it's very good for that. Next up, the actual aliens that we have so far, the Overseers. All 3 of these guys, 3 different varieties with different weapons and loadouts, they all have the same actual stats. The only difference between them is that they have different weapons and kit, and the jetpack ones that fly can be killed quicker if you hit them in the jetpack, which isn't relevant for the Arc Thrower, but it's relevant for some other weapons. Arc Thrower kills all of these guys in 4 shots. The first shot will stun them, so for the flying ones, that's very good because they can be quite a hard target to pin down sometimes because of how much health they have and how fast they move. The Arc Thrower slows them down and makes it easy to kill them on your own, but also allows your team to light them up when they can't move. And this isn't like throwing a stun grenade because it's unlimited ammunition and it has great range, and you can just do this every single time you find a whole bunch of them. And it'll even chain between a bunch of the flying ones. You can actually chain together like 3 of them at once and keep them from shooting your team and lock them down. So very good, decent time to kill, and we'll talk about with our build later how to make it even better. Hint, it's guard dogs. Next up, the Harvesters, the premier heavy unit of the Illuminate front. These are actually only Charger tier enemies in terms of the Arc Thrower. They are a ranged heavy unit that relies on shields more than they rely on raw health. They're actually kind of fragile. And Arc Thrower is capable of stun locking them. Now, it is also capable of killing them, but it will take a obscene number of shots, around 15. This is not awesome. I would highly recommend that you use the Arc Thrower to stun them and then kill them with something else. However, it can be done, and it's not that bad of a tactic. You just spend a lot of time doing it.
Requesting air support. Bag's empty.
Next, we have the Fleshmob, which they spawn in high numbers. It's an amalgamation of a bunch of Voteless put together, and they have a ton of health and they charge at you. Now, a lot of people think these guys are immune to stun effects, which hurts Arc Thrower. They are, but only if they are charging. If you stun a Fleshmob before he starts running at you, you will lock him down with the Arc Thrower, and you can light him up. A good tactic is to actually pair the Arc Thrower with the Laser Guard Dog, because Fleshmobs, if you didn't know, actually take double damage to both lightning and fire. And your Arc Thrower provides the lightning damage and stuns them, while the Laser Dog provides the fire damage. It lights them on fire, has unlimited ammo, and it'll keep shooting them while you have it locked down. And this actually gets to be a pretty effective loadout for killing Fleshmobs. It's not the best one, but it's a pretty good one. And so Arc Thrower, I think, is not obscenely strong against Fleshmobs, but it's a decent matchup. Next are the Watchers. These are the annoying guys that will sneak around and try to call reinforcements on your team. Arc Thrower is actually one of the best weapons in the game for them because it stuns them out of their call. Say one's about to call, if you're quick enough, you can stun him out of it and then kill him with the second shot. It's 2-shot kill, but one turns him off, which is very good because not many weapons are able to kill them in one shot to cancel a call-in like that. Arc Thrower doesn't kill him in one shot, but it does cancel the call, so ultimately it's basically the same thing. So very good for these guys. 55 meters of range is plenty enough to take care of them, and it will keep your team safe. Always good. And then lastly, out of the enemies we should be talking about, the Stingray fighter jets. You wouldn't really believe it, but these actually can be damaged from the ground with Arc Thrower. You can get about 2 or 3 shots on him as he passes overhead, and you'll take them down in 6 shots. It's not a good option for it. There are way better ones that you can bring as a primary weapon that I'm going to recommend in the loadout. But say you're pressed, you're out of ammo, or whatever, you can use an Arc Thrower to take them down. It's not awful, but it's not great. And then obviously there's Leviathans. Arc Thrower is capable of hurting them, but they have so much health that there's not really any point in trying. So just be aware, it can do it, but why? Just stay away from them and avoid them if your team is not able to take them out. They're not that big of a deal anymore.
Democracy! Requesting orbital strike! Requesting air support! Orbital inbound! Requesting orbital strike! Democracy!
Calling down a sentry.
Marking location, northwest. Requesting air support! Mag's empty!
More weapons.
Thank you.
Now to bring this guide to a close with our best squid loadout, starting with our stratagems. So obviously we're going to want to be bringing Arc Thrower with our Arc Thrower build. That's a very important piece, again. But for our second stratagem slot, we're going to want to bring the Laser Guard Dog to add DPS for Fleshmobs and Overseers. It helps a bit with the Horde Clear or whatever, but that's not really why we bring it. We bring it purely for Fleshmobs and Overseers, where it's very good with this build. Then for our third slot, we're going to bring Eagle 110mm rocket pods to take out Harvesters. Like I showed before, you stun the Harvester with the Arc Thrower, you throw a 110 rocket, it kills it. It's bingo, bango, done. Very little thought goes into it. It just works. And then for our last slot, we're going to bring Orbital Gatling Barrage. You can swap this out for other ones if you wish, like Gas Strike or Precision, what have you, Laser even. But I'm a big fan of Gatling Barrage on Illuminates because it will shred the squid drops very well. It can kill harvesters on its own, and it will also, a lot of people don't realize this, it will break the warp ships on the ground. So very strong to bring and very quick cooldown. I very, very much like it. So now for our weapons, the primary slot, you got two main choices, in my opinion. Those are going to be the Counter Sniper or the Dominator. They're very similar. One trades a bit of damage for higher rate of fire and better easy use, that being the Counter Sniper. The Dominator is harder to use because of its slower bullets and higher recoil, but it does more damage. So take your pick, they're very similar. But you need this to kill the Stingray fighter jets quickly, as well as harvesters. Again, as shown before, you stun the harvester, and then you can shoot his leg trivially, and you'll take them down quickly. For our secondary, we're going to be bringing Grenade Pistol again, because it's the best option for clearing out warp ships. You bring the shield down, you shoot a grenade through, easy, bingo, bango, done. You're clearing out the bases. And then for our grenade, this one is a little bit more up for interpretation. Any choice really works here, but my personal favorite is going to be the Pyrotechnic grenade. The Pyrotechnic grenade, you get 6 of them. They're very good for throwing into a squid drop to do a lot of damage to the horde and the Fleshmobs. But they're also pretty good for killing harvesters. If you stun a harvester with the arc thrower and throw one of these under its feet, it will die pretty surprisingly quickly. So they're a strong option, but again, this, the grenade is not very important. You can bring whatever you want, really. And lastly, for armor, anything really works here, but in my opinion, the best is going to be medic armor. You take a lot of damage with Illuminate, and just having more stems is just a lifesaver. It just is. I'm even a fan of bringing heavy medic armor on squids because you just take so much damage. They hit pretty hard with their plasma rifles, and the Voteless are always scratching you, and sometimes it's just unavoidable to get hit, and heavy armor has saved me a lot. But it's not necessary. You can go medium or light if you wish, but just bring medic. You'll thank me later. And that's it for our guide, guys. I really appreciate you watching. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, drop a comment, give a like and a subscribe. Let me know that you made it to the end. I hope you guys learned something. And just, thank you for the support. And I'll hit you up next time. Thanks, guys. Peace.